Thanks for joining us on day one of NANOG 87. My name is Mike Starr. I'm the founder and CEO of Tract and a member of the NANOG program committee. I'll be the session moderator for this morning's presentations. To kick off with the NANOG 87 conference opening, joining me on stage are Edward McNair, Konrad Zemek, future Cain, and Kat Gurinsky. Edward is the executive director of NANOG and is joining us here from Portland. Konrad is CTO at Path Networks. Path Networks is sponsoring a NANOG meeting for the first time, and we're happy to have Konrad here on stage with us to provide a welcome message as the NANOG 87 host sponsor. Future is CEO at Future of SEL and is coming to us here today from Wisconsin. She's one of the NANOG ombuds on site for attendees this week. Kat is the chair of the NANOG program committee and also a senior network engineer. She's traveled to us today from Austin, Texas. Edward, please officially kick us off for NANOG 87.
Thank you. So I'd like to first start out by honoring and recognizing someone who was very important to our community, Betty Burke. Betty Burke was our original executive director, my predecessor, and a very integral part of the NANOG that you see and experience today. We have a memorial for her on our website that's been created by community involvement, and if you want to know more about who Betty was, it's a great place to go to find more. They say that a person dies twice. The first, a physical death, and the second is when they're no longer talked about. And I believe that Betty will be talked about years to come. So welcome to Atlanta. This is a place that we have frequented and been here before. But let me give you a few fun facts about Atlanta that you may not be aware of. First of all, the city went through 4 name changes before it became Atlanta. There was Terminus, Trasherville, Marthasville, Atlantica Pacifica. And also here, there's a law that in Atlanta, one man cannot carry another man on his back. Women are exempt from such law, so if any of the women want to hoist a man over their shoulders and run him around, you're free to do so. Atlanta is the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King. Also, it is the home of the largest drive-in restaurant in the world. It takes up 5 acres, called Varsity. So if you get a chance to go visit Varsity and see the spectacle. And also, oddly enough, there are 71 streets in Atlanta with the name of Peachville. I don't know how the Postal Service works here, but not my problem. Here's a little slide on conference statistics, the Wi-Fi information. This is embedded on our website. You can see the URL to get there. So if you want to see any of the specs that are on there, you can see it in that place. So I'd like to introduce Konrad Zemek. He's our host sponsor from Path Networks, and we'll have a few words for you. Konrad?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to be here with you. Yeah, can I have this? So I'm Konrad Zemek. I'm CTO of Path Network, a DDoS mitigation company. And I couldn't be more excited about us sponsoring this event in Atlanta, Georgia. This is my first NANOG conference, but also my first time in Georgia. And this might be a pretty hot take, but I'm loving the weather. So I know I've been here for a couple of days. I know it's been rough sometimes. But in Krakow, Poland, where I come from, it's all wet snow lately. So it's a pretty nice change of pace anyway. So my first contact with the NANOG mailing list was at the beginning of 2020. We have just onboarded one of our biggest clients back then, and one of their customers was being a victim of a long-running high-volume TCP reflection attack. If you're not familiar with TCP reflection, it's where an attacker sent SYN TCP handshake packets to various hosts over the internet, just spoofing their source IP address to be that of the victims. The victim then gets SYNAC packets, the second part of the TCP handshake, from these hosts that we call reflectors. Now, the SYNAC is the second packet of the three-way TCP handshake, which means that the only thing that remains for establishing a real connection will be for the target to reply with an acknowledgement to the SYNAC. But because the target here is not the initiator, that doesn't happen. Now, this kind of attack is much trickier to handle than just a spoofed SYNAC flat would be. First of all, unless the victim responds with a reset packet to all of the SYNAC packets that it gets, the reflector host will start to retry sending the SYNAC packets again and again, thinking that they get lost somewhere, and that amplifies the attack. Second, no generic mechanism that we could have for detecting and mitigating spoofed flats can work here, especially ones that check whether there is a live host on the other end of the line, because there is. These all reflector hosts are live and kicking, unfortunately. So this attack was long-running enough and big enough that it attracted attention among the reflector host operators. Some of them were blaming our customer, well, the customer of our customer, of being a perpetrator of a SYN flood attack. Even though the SYN traffic to any particular host was relatively small, it compounded over large networks. Now it just happened, though no coincidence, that just a month before we have rolled out a new feature to our DDoS mitigation stack, one that would be a staple and one of our defining features till this day, which is firewall hole punching. You might be familiar with firewall hole punching already. When you set up a new host firewall, you set it up to deny all traffic. You whitelist some services that might be running on the host, maybe SSH, maybe HTTP. And then after doing that, you say, all right, but any connection that initiated from this host should still work, even though we deny all on the inbound, and that effectively punches a hole in the firewall. Now, yeah, this is secure, convenient, that's a rare mix, so we should take it where we can get it, but with DDoS mitigation, the problem is that the floods are really big, so we anycast our network. We have to take care of the packets closest to the attacking hosts and not closest to the victim, because there's just one victim, the victim is closest to just one point of presence, the packets will overwhelm the point of presence. Handling them closer to the attacking hosts makes sure that the traffic gets distributed over various POPs around the world. But the whole trick here is how do you whitelist, how do you punch this hole fast enough in real time so that the return packet that you get is already whitelisted when it comes to us at a random point of presence somewhere on the internet? Well, we've since got a patent that you can read to find out. So with that feature, we were able to easily mitigate the attack, and that's where the NANOG thread was brought to my attention. So people were discussing the effects the attack had on various network operators, and some were even speculating that the victim was blocking the outgoing reset packets instead of blocking the incoming syntax, which would make it a pretty bad netizen. But it would also make for a pretty poor mitigation practice if we blocked outbound instead of inbound. So I registered, jumped in, and clarified things. Writing that message back then, I never thought that I would be addressing so many of you live, opening the NANOG conference in Atlanta. It's been a crazy journey for us at Path Network. So we've since grown from just 3 points of presence to 20 all over the world, and from only 600 gigabits per second of capacity to 12 terabits per second of capacity right now. And yeah, we're still creatively hacking the internet packets without breaking the ossified infrastructure. So if you find me somewhere on the floor, you can ask me, how do we make sure that both sides of a single TCP flow land on the same point of presence, on the same load balancer? So with that said, thank you and have a great conference.
Thank you, Konrad. So I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors. NANOG exists and is able to operate from the support of our various sponsors, so they're critical to the functioning of this organization. So first of all, I'd like to thank our diamond sponsor, Tool and Die. Our premium sponsors, our platinum sponsors, AWS, Aaron, and Sienna. Our gold sponsors, F5, Imperva, QTS, Telstra, forgive me, and VeriSign. Our connectivity sponsor, VeriSign. Network sponsor, Nextdoor Lounge, Verizon, sorry, thank you. Espresso Bar. These are the various sponsors, again, that make all this happen and work. And if you are interested in sponsoring NANOG and supporting our organization, I would highly suggest you do so. So now I would like to introduce Future Cain. Future Cain is part of our OddsBud team, and she will be sharing about that.
Thank you, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are traveling in from. I know you might be in a different time zone. My name is Future Cain, and I am the CEO and founder of the Future of SEL. As we move into today, I know that many of you were probably watching the Super Bowl last night. So that brought me to ask the question in the room of how many of you, by a show of hands, watched the Super Bowl last night? Can you please raise your hand? All right, look around, keep your hands up because I want everybody to see how many people watched it. Now, every Super Bowl, millions of people actually watch the Super Bowl. What was important about this moment in time was that this Super Bowl was special. It was special because it was the first time during Black History Month that 2 Black quarterbacks were in the Super Bowl. It was also a making in history for February 2023 because it was the first time that a Black woman was an assistant coach. Her name is Autumn Lockwood, and she is an assistant coach for the Eagles, if you did not know. So while we talk about Black history and inclusivity and equity and belonging and welcoming, we also have to acknowledge that yesterday, last night, when all of you that raised your hand, or many of you that did not raise your hand and may go back and watch, we were making history in that moment, and you were a part of it. So thank you for watching and supporting. So as I said, and thank you so much for inviting me here. Myself, Tony Farmer, and Mark Lewis are here as your umbuds, umbud woman, umbud man, or umbud person. Tony and Mark, can you please do me a favor and either stand or raise your hand so that people, there is Tony, thank you so much. Mark, I'm not seeing you, but there you are, hi. So here's everybody for you to get a welcome from them. So what we are here to do is support NANOG in their diversity, equity, inclusion, and welcoming, belonging, and creating that community that is safe, that upholds respect, and maintains a place that all could be welcome and feel a place of friendliness. We do that through what NANOG has is which the code of conduct. So what they will be tolerating or not tolerating, I like to say, is aggressively pushing your own services or products, or causes, the distribution and consumption of alcohol at NANOG-sponsored in-person venues, audio or video recordings of the few sessions where such recordings are not permitted, offensive verbal comments or physical contact because of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, all the pieces of the intersectionality wheel is what we call it, sexual images of any kind displayed in public areas, along with deliberate intimidation, stalking, threatening, or following. They will also not tolerate harassing photography or recording of any kind, sustained disruption of a presentation or other event, inappropriate physical contact, unwelcome sexual attention. The last of the NANOG Code of Conduct are these two: engaging in any activity that is illegal or violates NANOG's or its sponsors' contracts with the venues or contractors, and demeaning or disruptive behavior or speech. I know that each of you have come up to the umbuds, and we've gotten many questions of what is an umbud? And that's a great question. So while I'm here today, we are going to share what it is. It is a neutral third-party person that you could come talk to, the person that you feel comfortable, and that's why 3 of us are here today, to tell us about the glows, or what I like to call the celebration that NANOG has. For those of you who have come to speak to us about that, I thank you. Lots of you have given us feedback over the iterations that we have been here. We're also asking to speak of the grow areas. So if you have some feedback on areas that NANOG could grow about your experiences or lived experiences that you have heard from others, we also want to know about that. Why? Because it's because of you that they keep making improvements. So thank you for collaboration, and thank you for building this community. Now, I welcome to the stage Leslie for board update.
All righty. So good morning. My name is Leslie Daigle, and I am this year's NANOG board chair. Wanted to give you a few updates. First, this is the current NANOG board post last year's elections. And I'd like to draw your attention to a few office changes that have occurred. I'd like to thank Dave Siegel for his efforts as last year's vice chair, and Vincent Cilindro as this last year's treasurer. And cleverly, they have swapped roles this year, so I guess they want to get in each other's business or something. I would certainly like to thank Tina Morris for her many years as board chair. I know she's put an awful lot of work into this organization, and I think we should offer her a round of applause for all of that hard work. And I'm certainly thankful that she's still on the board and can help me through this year. So that's this year's board. I would like to say thank you very much to Benson Schlieser for his efforts on in his role as a board member through the last years. Yes, so thank you very much, Benson. And then finally, I'd like to add our thanks to all of the sponsors for this meeting and for NANOG in general. As you saw from Edward's slides, it really does take a village. So if you work for one of the sponsoring companies, thank you. If you don't work for one of the sponsoring companies, please show them some love. Thank you. And now Kat will come and tell us about the program.
Thanks, Leslie. Hi, I'm Kat Gurinsky. I'm the current chair of the NANOG Program Committee. So here is a list of our current program committee members. Do you guys get a moment to glance over that? So for this program, we've got some tracks featured on automation, RPKI, and optical. We have a lot of other great talks and breakout sessions planned covering. Oh, there was an update there. That sentence was not supposed to be half filled. I apologize. We have a lot of great topics that are coming up for you guys during this week. So check out the agenda. There are 2 rooms as a reminder, as we do have the breakout rooms back. Those were missing last year, but they are back. The newcomers was actually in the breakout room. So if you'd seen that earlier today, that is where the other sessions will be held. I'm personally really excited about something called NANOG Jeopardy on Tuesday. So I had to throw that in there. There's some really hard questions in there, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So you should definitely come watch that. We have 2 keynotes for you this meeting. Today, right after this, we're going to have The Future is Now, Delivering the Next Generation Brilliant Network by Elad. He's Comcast's Chief Network Officer. And then on Tuesday, we have A Security Practitioner's Guide to Internet Measurement by Michael Bailey, who is the professor and school chair in the School of Cybersecurity and Privacy at the Georgia Institute of Technology. For those of you joining us virtually, there's a chat tab where you can talk with other attendees. If you're here in person, you can also hop in that room and chat with other attendees as well. The Q&A tab, though, is where you want to paste a question for the presentation. And even if you're in person and you don't like coming up to the microphone, you can paste questions in there. We will be monitoring it, and we'll be jumping back and forth between in-person and remote questions. You can use the Help tab to receive technical support if something's not working with the stream or the chat tabs. And then you can get all the agenda and presentation materials embedded inside of the agenda as well. So if you want to follow along with the slides while they're up here on screen, you can do that as well. Don't forget to submit your lightning talks. They are in person. There are no virtual lightning talks. We have 5:30 to 6 Eastern Time on Tuesday and Wednesday slotted for lightning talks. Your abstracts need to be in by 3:30 p.m. EST the day before you wish to speak. And then the PC will send notifications the evening prior. So please make sure your profile has a cell number because we'll be notifying via text message. And then the final slides will be due 12 p.m. Eastern Time the day of your presentation. We also, as always, have surveys online at nanog.org/surveys. There'll be a daily survey for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as well as a hackathon survey. Complete the survey daily each day, and you'll be entered into a drawing for a $100 gift card. And these surveys will all close on Friday, the 17th. We hope you enjoy our program. I also did want to mention that we do have nominations open for the program committee if you're interested in serving. You can self-nominate, so please do apply us there. And I'm going to hand it back over now to Mike so that we can kick off with our keynote. Thanks for joining us.